Okay, here we go. We are going to make a metal rose. Some of the things that you're going to need are, you're going to need some sheet metal. All right, this is an old rod can. This is like 32 gauge, 32 gauge, something like that. Don't worry about the letters because they are going to disappear when we put some heat to it. You're going to need a hammer. You're going to need a piece of wood. You're going to need a piece of 1/8 inch welding rod. You're going to need a triple-aught tip. You will need some gloves. You'll need Sharpie to draw things, some safety glasses. You will need a pair of needle nose pliers. You'll also need 2 punches. You'll need a kind of center punch here, and then you need like a chisel, like a cold chisel punch. I have already cut out the templates, so we have 3 different petals. We have the bottom part here, which is called the sepal, and we have 2 leaves. You're also going to need some tin snips. All right. As you can see, I have our metal pieces cut out, and make sure that when you do this, you wear gloves because this is extremely sharp. I've already cut the petals out and the sepal and the leaves, and I have punched holes in it. And that was real simple with the tin snips. I'm not going to show that on camera. In order to punch the holes, I did that over a piece of wood with my punch. I set that over there, hammered a hole in there. Okay, get that out. And just so that will fit over here. So those are the things that you're going to need. Please remember to wear safety glasses and gloves while you're messing with this sheet metal, and don't worry about any paper that's on here or any letters. Okay? Okay, so we've already gone over step 1 and 2 of making the rose. Now we are going to actually, after we've cut it out, I have a leaf here, and we are going to take the cold chisel and we are going to put some marks in it to make it look like a leaf. So I have already drawn on here, and so what you do is you need your piece of wood, your hammer, and your chisel, and I like to start out in the center and just make a mark down it. This will distort the piece of metal, and don't worry about that. We can smooth that out a little bit later. Okay, so here is one leaf. Hard to see. I need to do the other leaf and then also the sepal, and I will do that just the same way. This might be easier to see. So I travel down the center of it. And they don't have to look perfect. I've never seen a perfect leaf yet. They're all pretty, but they're not perfect. So if you have some lines that don't line up, don't worry about it. Starts curling up on you, just change the shape. As you can see, this is going to take a little bit of time to get done. But if you do a good job at this, it makes the end product look a lot nicer. Okay, so there is one of the leaves of the sepal. So you're going to do that all the way around. We need to get this done before we start putting our sepal, which is our next step. We're actually going to weld this onto our stem, like so. Okay, so I finished making all the little marks, and we're going to zoom in so you can see what these look like, hopefully. The sepal takes a lot of work, the leaves aren't too much work. Hopefully you can kind of see that, kind of changing it around. They don't have to look perfect. So after you get all those done, you can see that I have clamped up my piece of welding rod that is 12 inches long, and I have the sepal laying there, and this is protruding about 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch, and I am going to go on to step number 6, which is putting this on and then welding it on. So I have my torch set up, I have my 3/0-aught tip ready to go. I'm going to light this up. I also have some filler wire. This actually is 035 MIG wire that I'm going to use. Might not need it, but it's nice to have it if I do. So I'm going to put my safety stuff on, and I'm going to weld this on. So we're going to light our torch, make a neutral flame, put my glove on. Now the sheet metal is going to want to melt really easily, so I'm going to need to heat the wire up quite a bit before I get any heat down here. This is finesse. Nice little weld down here. Okay, you can turn it off. Okay, so the sepal is welded on. We have about 3/4 of an inch of that 1/8 inch filler metal rod. Next, I'm going to take number 2 petal, which is the biggest petal, and I'm going to set it down on there as close as I can possibly get to that, and I'm going to weld that on. Okay, and it looks like I need to make my hole just a little bit bigger, but that needs to fit tight. Then I'm going to weld that one on. Then I'm going to take number 3 and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees from number 2 so the gaps overlap, and then I'm going to weld that one on. And then I am going to put petal number 4 on there, and I'm going to put the petals in the gaps there and weld them on. And so I'm going to have this giant flat flower after I'm done that is ready to shape. Okay, so next time you see me, we'll have this all welded together. Okay, I've been welding. I have the sepal and the 3 petals all welded up. And if we zoom in, you can kind of see what it looks like. You can still see some of the writing on the metal, which don't worry about that. When we put a little bit of heat onto it after we get it all shaped, that will all disappear. So I just finished step 7, 8, and 9. I trimmed off that piece, and now I'm going to start doing 10 and 11. And so we're going to start with our needle nose pliers, and we are going to take the petals on opposite sides, and we're going to start with one of them, and we're going to bend it up and in. So I'm going to take the edge, kind of bend it in, take the other edge, bend it in, bend it in the middle, like so. So these are going to be pretty tight as they come in here, okay? So there's one. I'm going to take the opposite one now, bend that one up, like so. Move this so you can see better. And I'm going to start with the outside again. Start bending that around. Just start with little bends. You can use your fingers in here too. This is real thin sheet metal. So we're going to get this in here nice and tight. Like so. Alright, so now I have the next one that I work up and around. Bends on the outside and around. Fingers are good here. And then the last one for the inside petal. Get that in there. Fingers in there. So I want this one to be as tight as I possibly can, so I'm going to be squeezing it down around the base. I'm going to get that really tight and then working my way up to the top here. So now I have the inside piece. Okay? So after we do that, then we're going to start on the middle petal. That middle petal, we're going to do the same thing as far as the distance, but we're going to take that up a ways and then start bending that inward on both edges. Get that in there. And then do the opposite one. Okay, so we're back and we just did the middle petal right here. We're gonna do the opposite side now. Bend it up and in. Seems a little bit more cantankerous, there we go. Bend that, work it nice and smooth around there, around both edges. Put it in there. Now this one, we probably wanna start bending the top out just a little bit, doing a little bit of an outer type of bend. That'll get us a little bit wider. Alright, do that one on this one over here. If you kind of look at roses, roses kind of have these, they start kind of crinkling out a little bit. Next, we're going to do, the other one's coming up. Bend that around here, just work it nice and easy. Get that in there. Then work this edge over again, just tilting it back out just a little bit. Just gives it that little three-dimensional look, like a real rose. And if at any time you don't like what you see, if your petals, if you notice we didn't start out with perfect petals, if you don't like what you see, you can take your tin snips, trim something off. So I'm going to go back to my next one here. Start working it down. working that lip back again, just twisting it back just a little bit. Nice and tight. Now we have the last ones, and I'm going to start here, last petal, and we're going to continue on for this last one here. Bending it there, working it around nice and easily. Edge out. When you work that edge out, it kind of takes some of the bend out, so you have to kind of go back and shape it again, but it's all part of the fun. Making it look as beautiful as you want it to. Ooh, that one looks really nice. Okay, so now this next one. And we're going to stop it right there, and I will finish these last three, and then I will show you what to do with a sepal. So you just shape it the way you want it to look. If you want it really tight like mine is, or if you want it to be a little bit more full, you can do that too. Okay, so I've finished shaping the outside petals and bending them around, and then also bending the lips out, and you can kind of see, zoom in, kind of see what it looks like. If I turn it sideways, I've taken my pliers and I've squeezed in these corners to make those nice and tight. So what we need to do next is we need to shape the sepal up, and they are very sharp. So I'm gonna shape those up with my fingers, with my gloves on. So I don't want to cut myself. So once I get those bent up, I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, and I am going to take these tips and I'm going to bend them down around themselves just a little bit, so we have no sharp edges. Okay? That's an important part because you don't want anybody to get hurt on this themselves. That doesn't look too good. There we go. See, as I'm shaping those down, kind of curling them under, kind of what that looks like, and you can bend them back up in there and shape them as you want them. Makes that look really nice. So, so you can see how to do that all around. The next step after that is going to be taking I'll set this here, the leaves, and then a little piece of welding rod, like we had before, and tacking those together, and then putting those on the stem. I'm not going to show you welding those because you're already becoming master welders, and you can do that. Just suffice it to say that a little finesse and a pretty cool flame works a lot easier than a really hot flame. So what I'm going to do is finish shaping these. I'm going to tack weld those on and put my leaves on here, and I will show you the finished product here in just a little bit. Ah, smells wonderful, just like freshly rolled steel. But it's a rose, okay? So you can see I have everything all finished. I had one of my pieces that I didn't like, and I trimmed it off. And so as we zoom in and kind of look, you can see all of the detail and all the hard work that you did with stamping those leaves and whatever this is called right here. What do we call that thing? The sepal. All of that shows up really nice. You can see how it turns out on the inside right there. I have a really tight rose. I have tight leaves. I don't know if you can see it from different angles right here. But it's done. Now at this point, if you wanted to paint it, you could paint it, or if you wanted to leave it just this pretty blue color, you can. Also, if there are any letters or stickers or anything on there, if you take your torch and you just heat that up to where it just turns a little bright orange, all of that stuff will disappear. So I hope that you have enjoyed watching this video, and it is, you make a beautiful rose. And so I need to thank one of my students for teaching me how to do this. And his name was Josh Goody. And so all of the credit goes to him, and he has already gone on doing other things in welding. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see your rose. Thanks.